Welcome everyone. So this is the session on Ayush therapies in chronic diseases. There are two chairpersons for this session. Professor Madhu Chopra, who is a professor and a coordinator at Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Center for Biomedical Research, University of Delhi. Her area of interest is in molecular modeling, drug design and bioinformatics. Professor Chopra did her PhD in chemistry from Department of Chemistry, University of Delhi. She is also a life member of several scientific bodies in India, and she also conducted a drug discovery hackathon for open source drug discovery for COVID-19. Second chairperson for this session is Dr. Manoj Kashyap, who is coming from Faculty of Health and Allied Sciences from Amity University, Manesar. His area of interest is in genomics and proteomics of gastrointestinal malignancies. Professor Kashyap did his PhD from the Johns Hopkins University in the US and further pursued his postdoc from Moore's Cancer Center at University of California. Professor Kashyap is member of Royal Society of Chemistry as well as American Chemical Society, and he also serves as a reviewer and editor on several journals. So now I request Professor Chopra and Dr. Kashyap to initiate the session. Thank you.
We are delayed, but two of the talks have been cancelled, so we have enough time for this session. So first of all, I would like to introduce the first speaker, Dr. Sathyanarayana. Dr. Sathyanarayana is Principal Medical Superintendent and Director R&D Munial Institute of Ayurvedic Medical Sciences, Manipal, Karnataka. His area of interest includes medicinal plants and herbo-mineral formulations, quality control of herbal and herbo-mineral formulations, biological standardization of Ayurvedic products, etc. He is a BAMD from SDM College of Ayurveda, Udupi, India, and MD in Ayurveda in Bhavishya Kalpana from Gujarat Ayurveda in Jamnagar. He has published more than 20 research papers in national and international journals, and of course some best paper awards in Colombo, Sri Lanka on the Gary International Conference. He has been conferred with Edward Kennedy Memorial Award for Best Presenter in a senior research category. He has experience of 21 years in the subject Rashtrastra and Bhavishya Kalpana. He has worked as R&D executive at Munial Ayurveda Research Center. Today his title of the talk relevant to this conference is Application of Ayurvedic Herbals and Formulations in Cancer Chemo Prevention and Radioprotection. With these few words, I welcome Dr. Sathyanarayana and to give the talk.
शंखं चक्रं जलोकां दधमृतघटं चारुदूर्भिश्चतुर्भिः सूक्ष्मस्वच्छातिहृद्यां शुभपरिविलसन्मौलिमं भोजनेत्रं कालाम्भोदोज्ज्वलाङ्गं कटितटविलसत् चारुपीताम्बराढ्यं वन्दे धन्वन्तरिं निखिलगगनप्रौढदावाग्निलीलम्. Let us pray Lord Dhanvantari to destroy all our enormities and bestow us with the best of health. Good afternoon. At the outset, let me thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to stand before you and share my views on the topic that is displayed here. Respected chairpersons, august delegates who have joined me physically and virtually. The topic that I have selected today is on Ayurvedic medicinal plants and formulations in cancer chemo prevention and also chemoprotection and radioprotection. So let me begin with some customary slides. We know that cancer is the second largest cause of death worldwide. Today, even after so many advancements in the field of oncology, maybe in diagnostics or in therapeutics, it has still remained a challenge in healthcare. So based on my clinical experience of last 22 years, I am very much confident to say that being a member of Ayurveda faculty, Ayurveda has a lot to offer here. I'm not going for the details of those because my focus of today's presentation is on only chemo prevention, protection and radioprotection. We have seen that there are advancements in cancer detection methodologies. Maybe newer drugs have been invented for cancer chemotherapy. Nanotechnology has been adopted very well, and new techniques of radiation where focused linear radiation is being followed and immunotherapy is becoming popular. Even then, we are seeing that excruciating patients of cancer are running towards alternate paradigms. So in my experience of last 2 decades, we have a data of over 1,000 patients who have visited us maybe in virgin status or in terminal status. And we had a lot to experience by interacting with these people. We know that there is a conventional mode of treatment in cancer, maybe surgery or maybe chemotherapy, maybe radiation, or a combination of this one after the other, or immunotherapy as the next line of treatment. Many of the situations, not because of economic constraints, but because of adverse effects, which is so unbearable to the cancer patients that they were stopping treatment in between. They were running away from the hospital and they are trying to find out some other solution for the problem. We, being the people of Ayurveda, have definitely an important role to play here, because role of Ayurveda is not simply prophylactic. However, when we talk about Ayurveda, we speak about diet, lifestyle management, all these. Definitely they have an important role even in cancer prevention. You know very well that by proper diet and lifestyle management, you can influence epigenetic markers. So you can make those particular loci of the genetic picture not to get exposed or the cancer not to manifest, because we cannot change the gene but we can change the genetic expression by the epigenetic influence, which is definitely possible with Ayurvedic lifestyle and also food. So prophylactic role in cancer is definitely there is no doubt about it. We have seen that in a few cases we have a curative approach also. At the same time, supportive and palliative role of Ayurveda can never be neglected. So based on this, we had developed a comprehensive approach, a multidimensional approach entitled Mahaushadha Kalpa in our institute, for which we have received a US patent also, which is not simply a research drug. It has got a drug, it has got formulations, it has got diet and lifestyle management, it has pyramid therapy, it has yoga, it has pranayama, it has supportive procedures like panchakarma, etc. We have always seen that cancer can never be managed with a single approach. It should have a comprehensive multi-dimensional approach to get best possible yields. Today I am not going for those details of our approach to treat the cancer, because this seminar is mainly focused on the diet or dietary supplements or those simple herbs or formulations which can be used over the counter to support cancer. I am not talking about those potent formulations or other methodologies, because it is out of focus of today's lecture. So even during radiotherapy of cancer, it is very important for us to protect normal tissues. However, now the instrumentation has improved, the methodology is improved. Despite that, we are observing that there are deleterious effects of radiotherapy, especially in oropharyngeal cancer. You must be knowing that in oropharyngeal cancer almost invariably radiotherapy is used. Maybe post-operative or as a first line of treatment or concomitant with chemotherapy. In such situations, there will be sometimes a permanently damage, like salivary glands will be affected, dryness will be there throughout the life of an individual, cannot produce saliva, there will be dryness of the mouth, oral mucositis is very common, dysphagia sometimes can be permanent in such situations. In other areas, suppose there is CA of esophagus, if it is somewhere midway, then it becomes extremely difficult because heart is very much close. So radiation becomes very difficult in such situations. Or post radiotherapy, there may be strictures in esophagus which may have to be dilated repeatedly also. There are many other issues related to even radiotherapy also, which many a times we feel as very simple. There is an interesting statement here in the last line you can see that recent advances in the area of radio protection have shown that it is possible to modulate the radio response in normal and tumor tissues by making use of natural plant products. You can use such plant products which make your tumor tissues to be more responsive to the radiotherapy. The tumor regression will be more pronounced by radiotherapy when you use such supplements concomitant to radiotherapy. And also some of those studies which have been published have shown that when you use such herbs, normal tissues have been protected better, and also those tumor tissues became more susceptible to radiation. That is another very interesting application of natural products along with the regular radiation. What can be the role of medicinal plants in cancer treatment? The plants can have their role in fighting cancer by various mechanisms. It may be simply nourishing the body with the minerals, vitamins or some natural enzymes. You know that we have papain, bromelain, like natural enzymes that are present in the plant, and also micronutrients. And most importantly, immunomodulating effect, the increasing immune system of the body, or inducing antioxidant action and protecting the body from oxidative stress. Majority of the plants that we use in Ayurveda are having free radical scavenging properties. They enhance the detoxification function of the body. They alkalize the body fluids. Studies have shown that by changing the pH of body fluid, you can fight cancer to some extent. They inhibit some cancer activating enzymes. They promote production of protective enzymes. They may stimulate DNA repair mechanisms, and also they modulate the activity of specific hormones and enzymes to inhibit the growth of cancer. These are a few of the mechanisms. There can be many more mechanisms by which a plant or a plant constituent or a polyherbal plant product can act. There are many studies which have reported that phytoconstituents, maybe the flavonoids like quercetin or catechins which we have in the drugs like Acacia catechu, or resveratrol which we have in our plant products like Draksha Arishta, Draksha Sawa, etc. Green tea polyphenols, even though we do not use them in Ayurveda. Grape seed, proanthocyanidins, silimarin, curcumin, about which today morning we had a very important session, and I think extensive study has been carried out on anti-cancer potential of curcumin. Even though we are not using isolated curcumin, we may be using turmeric as a whole, but we use a specific medium in which that curcumin is soluble and it will show the action. If you just make a decoction of turmeric and use it, it may not be efficacious. But if you boil it in milk, it has got a typical binding property with the protein and fat there, then only it will be bioavailable and it will show its action. So that beauty is known to Ayurveda, and accordingly a specific mode of administration is described. These are all the plants or plant products which have anti-inflammatory and immunomodulatory properties. So there are many chemopreventive agents which are phytochemicals or secondary metabolites where plant may not need them as a nutrition, but they are produced as a disease preventive property for us. So many a times this is a tricky situation where many of the pharmaceutical companies fail in the quality control of their products. We know that Ayurvedic industries mainly depend upon the forests or natural resources for the plants. In forest, plants grow not in a scientific manner, in a natural manner, where a plant has got a stimulant nearby. It has got it's a typical sympathetic ecosystem. If you try to cultivate the same plant in a field, say 10 by 10 feet, and feed all manure to it, plant may grow very well, but it may not produce a certain secondary metabolites which are required for therapeutic action. So some studies have shown that the plant like Vasa Arthoda Vasica, when it was collected from 10 different places, vesicin concentration varied to a great extent. In one of the sample it was not at all present. So there should be some natural phenomenon or surrounding environment for the plant to produce these secondary metabolites. However, nowadays artificial stress is being induced to the plant in tissue culture method, where the plant is made to produce such phytoconstituents. That's a different story. So these are the things which make Ayurveda a bit tricky, and standardization very difficult, but you should have an insight to the idea that our classics have mentioned to maintain quality in these medicinal plants. So during the initiation phase, natural chemopreventive agents probably they inhibit the absorption of a carcinogen into the organism through antioxidant activity. They may prevent inflammatory induced damage or enhance neutralization, and they remove carcinogens to metabolic enzymes. There are several medicinal plants, just to quote a few: Curcuma longa or turmeric, Osmum sanctum or our Tulasi, holy basil, or Tilospora cordifolia, about which we heard today morning, Guduchi, in Hindi known as Giloy. They all have been evaluated extensively for their anti-tumor, antioxidant and chemopreventive effects. There are many classical formulations of Ayurveda like Amrita Prasham, Ashwagandha Rasayana, Brahma Rasayana, Chavana Prasha, Narasimha Rasayana, Rasayana Avaleha, or well known Triphala, which belong to a group of drugs known as Rasayana. We were expecting a talk on Rasayana in this session. I think the speaker is not there today, who would have thrown more light on this concept of Rasayana and different modes of action that Rasayana plants have. So these are the drugs that impart rejuvenating effects to the cells and tissues, and they are all reported to have radioprotective effects. So let me just give you a few examples today, just hand-picked examples, radioprotective Ayurvedic herbs. To start with, Manduka Parni or Centella asiatica, it's called as Gotukola in English. Many people use this as a Brahmi. This is not Brahmi. Brahmi is Bekapa Maniri. This is a Manduka Parni. Sometimes it is used as a substitute of Brahmi. The therapeutic properties is slightly vary. It's not exactly the same. This is used as for in cuisines also. You prepare chutney and use this in the southern part of India. Aqueous extract of Centella asiatica reduce the adverse effect of low dose irradiation in Sprague-Dawley rats by inhibiting radiation-induced body weight loss and also conditioned taste aversion, according to Shubhi et al. And Sharma J et al. Have reported that it also has found to protect against the radiation-induced weight loss in mice exposed to 8 gyri of gamma radiation. Tulasi, holy basil, is one of the wonder drug which we use in multiple conditions in Ayurveda, maybe as a single drug or in combination and different forms, various forms. It has got a well proven radioprotective property. Probably it was first reported by Jagetia et al. Against the radiation induced mortality. So thereafter, studies by Umadevi and her co-workers established its radioprotective efficacy by evaluating mouse survival, then spleen colony assay and chromosome aberrations in mouse bone marrow cells. Apart from these, Tulasi has been reported to protect against radiation-induced lipid peroxidation and reduction in glutathione concentration. Baliga MS and others in their review article have mentioned that tulsi and its flavonoids selectively protect the normal tissues against lethal effects of radiation. Tulsi also protects against radiation-induced damage to the salivary glands, which I was speaking about, which is a very common adverse effect of radiation in oropharyngeal carcinoma. Flavonoids of tulsi protects against radiation-induced gastrointestinal damage in several GI tumors, even in colon carcinoma. Radiation is used sometimes. Tulsi extracts its flavonoids and one of the important phytoconstituents, eugenol, protect against radiation-induced clastogenesis. Tulsi also enhances bone marrow radioprotection with WR2721. So WR2721 is nowadays being used for radioprotection. The tulsi was compared with that separately and in combination. They have found that in combination they have got excellent radioprotective effect. Tinospora cordifolia, which became immensely popular in general public during COVID pandemics. However, for us Ayurvedicians, this is a well-known drug. We call this Amrita. The name Amrita itself is because of its therapeutic potential. Tinospora cordifolia, ideally its stem has to be used, fresh stem has to be used for best therapeutic results. However, people use its leaves also, which may not be having expected therapeutic results. However, it has got some specific therapeutic indication also. Oral administration of aqueous extract of guduchi has been reported to increase the survival of mice exposed to radiation. Hydroalcoholic extract of the same plant has been found to protect against radiation-induced micronuclei formation and also oxidative stress and decline in mouse survival, spleen colony forming units and hematological parameters. Our amalaki or amla, rich in gallotanic acid, vitamin C, has been extensively evaluated. You will get hundreds of articles on therapeutic potential of amalaki. The fruit pulp of amalaki or Emlica officinalis has been reported to increase the survival and inhibit radiation-induced weight loss in mice. Bhumi amalaki or Phyllanthus neruri is the plant that we use. Even Phyllanthus amaris is also used. Even this is also used in cuisines in our place. A well-known hepatoprotective drug. Most of Ayurvedic proprietary products that are used as hepatoprotective or in various types of liver disorders do contain this excellent antiviral drug, even anti-tumor drug also, Bhumi amalaki or Phyllanthus amaris. So this also has been reported to protect against radiation-induced decline in WBCs, decline in natural antioxidants like superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione transferase, glutathione peroxide, and also glutathione reductase. Piper longum, commonly known as long pepper, one of excellent bioenhancers. If you see 100 of Ayurvedic formulations, 90% of them do contain trikatu. One of them is long pepper, mainly because of piperine, which is an excellent bioenhancer. If you add this with any other drug, its therapeutic potential is enhanced. And it is true even with the other chemical drugs also. You may be knowing that this has been tried with anti-tubercular drugs, other anti-cancer drugs, and it has shown bioenhancing effect also. So I am not talking about that. So my concentration is on the effect of pipali as a radioprotective agent. Ethanolic extract of this was found to protect mice against radiation-induced decline in WBCs, bone marrow cell alpha esterase positive cells, and also DSH. Pipali extract also reduced the elevated levels of glutathione pyruvate transaminase, of course ALP and lipid peroxidation in liver. It's a very good hepatoprotective already, and serum of irradiated animals. Or common ginger or shunthi. Administration of about 10 mg per kg intraperitoneal. I am of course much interested in oral administration. 250 mg per kg orally. Hydroalcoholic extract of this shunthi consecutively for 5 days could protect mice against radiation sickness, gastrointestinal as well as bone marrow deaths. Ginger has been reported to increase glutathione, reduce lipid peroxidation in vivo, and scavenging of various free radicals in vivo and in vitro both. Jambu, in Hindi known as jamun, Syzygium cumini, We use its leaves and seeds, even the bark, for therapeutic purpose, for various different indications. Here I am talking about the scales, that is the bark of this particular tree, Eugenia cumini or Syzygium cumini. It has several medicinal properties. The micronucleus study of radioprotective effect of dichloromethane and methanol 1:1 extract of Jambu was studied. In human peripheral blood lymphocytes, it ascertained that it has got radioprotective potential. Even in vivo evaluation also established its protective potential. It was found to reduce radiation-induced sickness and gastrointestinal and bone marrow deaths. Bilva, a sacred holy plant for us, for Lord Shiva. We use its leaves, we use its fruits, we also use its roots. Actually, Bilva root has to be used, one among Dashamula you might have heard. But procuring Bilva root is difficult. You will have to kill the plant, or you have to uproot the plant, or you will have to take only particular part of the root, which becomes very difficult. So nowadays most of the companies, they substitute roots with stem or stem bark or the twig for therapeutic potential. Anyway, for radio protective activity, it is the leaves that are found to be more efficacious. In a study, it is shown that the hydroalcoholic extract of eagle marmalose or bilva protected against HPBLs, where radiation has caused the generation of micronuclei in a very small concentration of 5 microgram per ml. The radioprotective activity of 15 to 250 milligram per kg of eagle marmalose extract was further confirmed in vivo studies, where its intraperitoneal as well as oral administration both have found to be very effective in protecting the animal against radiation-induced sickness, gastrointestinal and bone marrow deaths. Even in radiation-induced lipid peroxidation and elevated GSH concentration in liver, kidneys, stomach and intestine, it had shown protective effect at 31st day of post-irradiation. And oral administration also protected the mice against gamma radiation-induced decline in WBCs, RBCs, lymphocytes and clonogenicity of hematopoietic progenitors, because this is very important in chemotherapy. We have seen in some of the patients that from third day of chemotherapy, there is a bone marrow suppression. WBCs, RBCs, platelets all go down, and the doctor has already fixed the next cycle of chemotherapy after 15 days. But patient WBC is still at 2000, 2800. He is unfit for second course of chemotherapy. He will have to wait for 2 or 3 more weeks. In such situation, when you use Ayurvedic drugs like Bilva, subsequently or concomitantly, that will help for the patient to regain the immunomodulatory effect, to regain this bone marrow suppressed effect, and blood cells will come back to normalcy within 7 to 10 days. Patient will be ready for next cycle of chemotherapy. This is another added advantage of such products. Rohitaka is another plant. Of course, we use different plants: Amora rohitaka, Tecuma undulata, and Aphanomyxis polystachya. These are 3 different plants that we use. This is an established anti-cancer plant. You will find several articles on this. We have products also like Rohitaka arista in the market. So this is Aphanomyxis polystachya, which was evaluated for radioprotective effect. Ethyl acetate fraction was used here at a dose of 7.5 milligram per kg body weight before exposure to 1 to 5 Gauss of whole body gamma radiation, which has significantly reduced the frequencies of aberrant cells and chromosomal aberrations like eccentric fragments, chromatid and chromosomal breaks, centric rings, dicentrics, exchanges and many other chromosomal abnormalities that can happen because of radiation. Now let me quote a couple of examples of chemo and radioprotective effects of Ayurvedic polyherbal formulations. In Ayurveda mostly we use polyherbal products. However, we do use single drugs also, but more commonly polyherbal products. This is an article published on Triphala, such a popular, such a common formulation, a combination of 3 plants, 3 fruits that we use. So this is a traditional Ayurvedic formulation being used not since centuries but thousands of years, having immense therapeutic potential, having excellent anti-cancer activity, free radical scavenging property, wound healing property, antioxidant property, and so on. It is also revered as a chemopreventive, chemotherapeutic and immunomodulatory and radioprotective drug. You can see the combination of 3 fruits there. On the other side we have Terminalia bellerica, here Terminalia cebula, and of course amla, everybody can recognize it. Accumulated evidence has revealed that Triphala modulates multiple cell signaling pathways which may include ERK, MEPK, NF-kappa B, AKT, tubulin, P53, cyclin D1, like anti-apoptotic and pro-apoptotic proteins. It stimulates pro-apoptotic proteins and may inhibit anti-apoptotic proteins. This is a study by Dr. Vyas, Dr. Anup Thakur, Dr. M.S. Baghel and others from Jamnagar. This is a clinical study. Being a physician, I am much interested in this type of clinical evidences which we have seen in the patients, not just limited to the laboratory. So this is of course a small sample study, efficacy of Rasayana Avaleha as adjuvant to radiotherapy and chemotherapy in reducing adverse effects. So this study was carried out in a group of just 36 cancer patients who were divided randomly into group A and group B. Group A received radiation, chemotherapy and also Rasayana Avaleha, an interventional group, and group B received only radiation and chemotherapy without Rasayana Avaleha, and they were compared. After assessing the results, it was observed that Rasayana Avaleha gave better results in controlling the adverse effects of chemotherapy and radiation in comparison with the control. So we can definitely say that Rasayana Avaleha has a therapeutic potential as a protective drug to prevent or to manage adverse effect of radiation and also chemotherapy in those patients who are already on conventional treatment. This entire article is available online as an open access article. I am not going for the details of this. Amrita Prasham is another drug. This of course being used clinically. The study published here is a preclinical study. It has shown that administration of Amrita Prasham reduced radiation-induced loss of body weight and arrested the decrease in the weight of liver, kidney and spleen of mice. The data is here. I am not reading out the entire data here, where it has shown the protective effect on liver, especially on the GPT, serum lipid peroxide and hepatic lipid peroxide levels. Effect starts on day 2 itself. Best result could be observed on day 7. Ashwagandha Rasayana, with respect to radiation protection, Violil and others have published an article. They said that oral feeding of Ashwagandha Rasayana to mice at 50 mg per kg body weight for 28 days prevented radiation-induced emaciation and decrease in organ weight when compared to the irradiated controls. It also helped to increase serum GPT levels and lipid peroxidation. Brahma Rasayana is another product which we use as a rejuvenative. This also had shown an effect of protecting animals against radiotoxicity. Chavanprasha, so popular, so many companies are advertising the products, whether it is considered as an over-the-counter drug or not. I don't want to comment on this formulation which has got more than 56 ingredients. So if you have to prepare a Chavanprasha classically without making any compromise with the quality control, it is not such a simple formulation. Just go and buy it and eat it. So there is a huge discussion that is required on this product, which is definitely having an immense therapeutic potential, not just as a rejuvenative drug. Because it is so made popular, telling that it is very rich in vitamin C. We are using amalaki here, the pulp of baked amalaki or amala. It is roasted in ghee, and during the process vitamin C is lost. So we are not bothered about vitamin C. If vitamin C is present in Chyawanprash, that doesn't mean that it's best Chyawanprash. These are all the misleading advertisements that we are seeing all around. That's a different story. Anyway, in relation with the radioprotective activity, Chyawanprash also has got an established result against gamma radiation, which is very well published. More than 58% of survival could be established with Chyawanprash. Jageti and others have published radioprotective effect of Chyawanprash. They also found that against carbon tetrachloride induced liver damage, it has got cytoprotective effect. And a clinical study they have reported, when it was administered in a dose of 20 grams BD in BD smokers, it decreased the bronchitis which can happen because of the irritation of BD smoke. It has improved their appetite because they are all more prone to develop lung cancer, which is the #1 cancer diagnosed in males in India. Narasimha Rasayana is another product which was also found to be effective as a radioprotective in, of course, in vitro and in vivo studies. So before concluding, this is a picture even Dr. Girish Tillu had shown this today morning. Probably my next speaker will be speaking more on Rasayana drugs. They can have their therapeutic potential in managing adverse effects of chemotherapy and radiation in cancer patients, maybe by enhancing free radical scavenging activity or antioxidant effect, or by improving immunomodulation or adaptogenic effect, by potentiating antioxidant enzymes, or by reducing oxidative stress and inflammation, or by reducing lipid peroxidation, or by inhibiting mutagenesis, DNA damage and DNA clusterogenesis. So there are many conditions where Ayurveda is handling. There is a huge list. This may be out of focus now, considering the limitation of time. I am not going for all these conditions. There are various conditions which you can observe as an adverse effect of radiation or chemotherapy, where we have different drugs or modalities to treat those conditions. So I have given the list of those formulations, those drugs, classical based and research based, so which are utilized in our regular clinical practice to handle such situations. Just in Triphala we use in constipation, in pharyngitis we use chewing of Khadiradivati. For hepatotoxicity we use Panchamala Krita, or we may be using Punarnavashtaka decoction. In skin changes we may be using simple oleation with Balataina. In cognitive deficit we may be using Kalyanaka Krita, Ashwagandha like drugs and so on. So with this let me conclude my presentation. There are several herbs and formulations mentioned in Ayurveda which have established chemopreventive and radioprotective effects. Rasayana drugs especially have an important role to play here. Maybe free radical scavenging or antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, chemoprotective, chemopreventive and immunomodulatory effects of Rasayana drugs will be of immense use in maintaining a healthy lifestyle and disease-free life, not just in managing cancer and its adverse effects. These are a few of the references that I had gone through while preparing this article. Thank you very much for your patient listening and also for the time given to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sathyanarayana. This was a very comprehensive summary of whatever is available in Ayurvedic formulation as far as radioprotection and chemoprevention of cancer is concerned. The session is open for questions. Please.
Thank you so much. It's really a great learning, especially for me. I don't belong to this field. This is one very naive question. So, what is the time period of effectiveness of these drugs when you take it? Like it is assumed that allopathic, another drug, they have immediate effect. So, is there a differential? It's a delayed effect of them. Number one. Number two, how long you have to take it? Like if you stop, what happens?
Yes, of course, maybe this question needs much longer answer. So I will try to be very specific. You may be knowing that Ayurveda is a personalized medicine, because you cannot generalize any drug or any formulation for every individual in Ayurveda. So depending upon the stage or type of the disease, and also whether the patient is exposed to any conventional treatment, whether he is already on a treatment like chemotherapy or radiation, you will have to plan the formulation, and also we can expect the result. If you are treating a particular symptom, for example oral mucositis like symptom, or any skin changes, or peripheral neuropathy, which is very commonly seen in the case of chemotherapy, in such situations we can definitely expect a very quick result. Not only this, we have many other herbomineral formulations also. In oral mucositis, for example, within 3 days you can expect the results. It is published already. Comparative studies are done. Even some pharmaceutical companies also have worked on this. Now a controlled clinical trial is going on in Manipal University with the Department of Oncology in collaboration with Ayurveda on same oral mucositis. Within 3 days you will find a remarkable relief in that. It depends upon the type of condition. So many a times we may be using these formulations for treatment of cancer itself, because I am dealing with those cancer patients for last almost 20 years now. So various kinds of patients we do have. It may be a virgin case, stage 1 cancer, which is diagnosed by us, or it may be a terminal cancer. We feel that if you are able to bring out a smile in the face of a dying cancer, that is the greatest contribution that you can give. Quality of life, improvement of quality of life, and also survival rate is what we focus in cancer patients. Today we had an excellent presentation by a German doctor in the morning. He was talking about how excruciating it is to just dump the chemotherapy on patients in all the cases. So in many such situations we do treat the patients even without the chemotherapy also. There are many situations where chemotherapy may not be recommended. If that is the case, so we require to administer drug for a pretty long time. I have patients who is taking the drug for last 5 years. Patient is quite stable, a few of them are disease free. We have patients with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, 3 patients who are disease free for last 12 years. But still I am giving them some rasayana herbs, regenerating herbs. They are not doing any harm, that will support to the patient. And patient feels that he is happy, he is taking something. So that is a different story. Otherwise, usually if we consider that 5 years of disease-free condition in cancer, we consider that it is almost as cured. So we need not continue the medication in such situation. Otherwise, when patient is already on disease is continuing, we cannot say that when we have to stop the medicine in many of the situations. So that may depend.
I have one question. Since this radiation always influences our immune system the most, and what we are seeing with SARS-CoV-2 or any other viral disease, the same immune system is triggered. So what is the parallelism you found for these herbs? Are they effective in this infectious antivirals also? And if yes, then how much work is being done in India or in your institute in this area?
Yes, you are absolutely right. Everybody was talking about immunity during COVID pandemic for last 3 years. So everybody was drinking kada as an immune booster, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, whatever it is. There are many plants here which have shown as a radioprotective. So many of them are found to be useful as immunomodulators, and some of them are excellent antivirals also. For example, I have shown Chinospora cordifolia. I have shown Philanthus umbilicus. Philanthus umbilicus is not a very potent antiviral, but maybe to some extent. Philanthus niruri, Bhumia malaki, an excellent antiviral. So it was studied against HPV, it was studied against even COVID virus also. Ashwagandha, Withenia somnifera, it has got a multi-dimensional application on COVID itself. So it is published. I think Dr. Girish Tilo was one of the co-authors of this. So if you Google, you will get the article on the mode of action of Withenia somnifera on COVID-19. It has got multiple actions. One among them is antiviral. Neem, for example, Nimba. Nimba is a potent antiviral. We are not using it so popularly as a chemopreventive. We use it as a radioprotective. As a chemopreventive, I have not used it much except in case of skin changes. It is very useful in the case of dermatological afflictions, whether it is because of radiation or due to any autoimmune effect. We have a talk next on psoriasis. The doctor can enlighten more on that. And even as an antiviral, neem is an excellent antiviral. There are many herbs which are common as antiviral, immunomodulator. Immunomodulator need not be immunostimulant always, it may be an immunomodulation, and also a radiopharm. There are many publications are there. So personally, if madam is interested, I can share those articles.
Hello sir. Sir, I am Dr. Jaswinder Singh, and thank you for this brief description of the Ayurvedic medicines that you have. I have a very small question. I want your take on modern day classification of Ayurvedic medicine. Do you feel that modern day chemistry or biochemistry should be applied on the previously known herbs to have a brief and renew classification of these medicines? What is your take on that?
Classification is something different. Of course, utilization of chemistry or evaluation techniques, maybe phytochemistry, will be definitely useful, because my area of interest is also the same, standardization, quality control, all these. Classification, even in Ayurveda also, classification of herbs or plants, it is different. It varies. Classification may be morphological in some of the areas, or classification may be based on something known as a taste, which you may wonder why the plants are classified on taste. So they are having a typical therapeutic benefit on taste. We say that Madhura drugs, they are classified in the same category. There are 10 plants, say milk is a Madhura drug, asparagus racemosus is a Madhura drug. Then we have got Purulea tuberosa is a Madhura drug. If you see as a chemist, they are having totally different phytoconstituents, how they can be in the same category. But as you said, when we went for much more detailed studies with the help of pharmacologists, we could identify that there are some extraoral taste receptors. Taste receptors are present in the liver. Taste receptors present in the intestines. We can find bitter taste receptors somewhere in the bone. We say that Tikta rasa dravya, bitter drug, acts on liver. So there is very interesting correlation, which I think all this modern chemistry or pharmacology will help us to understand our own classification in a better manner. The knowledge of phytoconstituent or structure of chemicals should not make our Ayurveda as a disintegrated, because what happens if you are isolating an active principle and purifying and using it, then it is not my Ayurveda. It is totally different. So it can be a herbal drug, it can be some other drug, where they may be considering this, these are the anti-inflammatory reagents, these are the antioxidant reagents, or these are the analgesic potential drugs. I am isolating and purifying it. There are a lot of issues there, because there are many other phytoconstituents which are required for the plant to show its action. So many a times, that is why when you isolate phytoconstituents, many of them do not reach to the clinical study level at all. They will fail when it comes to the clinical level. So I think whatever you said, it is a complementary, but we should, being an Ayurvedic doctor or Ayurvedic researcher, we should use this modern classification, modern analysis, maybe phytochemistry, or maybe even the pharmacogenomics aspect also, which has helped a lot to us. So that we have to understand, and we should try to correlate with the Ayurvedic basics. Ayurvedic fundamentals are very strong. If you are able to correlate and unravel those secrets with the help of these, even the modern community, a scientific community who do not understand Ayurvedic language, can be better understand this. So they can be convinced in a better manner.
So if there are no more questions, let me thank Dr. Sathyanarayana for very insightful talk. Thank you so much.
I now request Professor Kashyap to felicitate Dr. Sathyanarayana.